Good afternoon. My name is Kyle McCall. I'm with Aspen University. I'm a doctoral student studying under Dr. Lisa Clark this quarter for creating strategic change that lasts. And in this module 4, we're going to be discussing social power and the alpha dog. I'd like to begin by discussing the agenda just a little bit. The introduction, which we're doing now, obviously, and we'll review the 5 types of social power according to the author of our primary book, David Casulo. And then I want to talk a little bit about Sodexo Incorporated, which is the organization for whom I'm employed currently. We'll provide an analysis of the dominant types of social power in our work setting and the alpha dog concept. And finally, we'll discuss some references that I used to pull this presentation together. Now, in following Casulo, we find that there are 5 types of power. One is legitimate power, and that's the power that comes virtually from being there. You're in the position, you've been nominated, you've been duly elected, and you are the leader, possibly the CEO or some other C-level employee. And the authority that that individual claims comes along with that position. Coercive power has the ability and authority to punish for whatever reason or whenever, however we deem necessary. Sometimes that can become somewhat abused. Coercive power sometimes can be used as a choice through influences and negotiations, of course. Reward power is the ability to give people what they want or take away something that they want. That's not exactly a reward when you take it away, but perhaps it can be rewarding if it's replaced by something else. And it also involves the external market environment when we talk about our contractors, our suppliers, and our vendors and service people. Expert power is the power to influence through knowledge, information, and your own expertise. And then we have referent power, the ability to influence through charisma or personal acceptance. And many times, when we think about personal acceptance, a lot of people get to the position where they are because they've been influenced by somebody or they've been able to influence somebody. A wise person once said that everybody who's successful has surprised somebody during their career. I'd like to spend just a moment talking about Sodexo Incorporated. It was founded in 1966 by Mr. Pierre Boulon, and at the time it was founded, it was a small family food catering business. Now, we're talking 53 years or so later, and the company has grown continuously diverse and broad in all the different offerings. In fact, we now have over 420,000 employees globally that are providing food services, facilities management, energy services, construction services, universities, hospitals, pharmaceuticals, K through 12 schools, government, energy and resources, sports and leisure, seniors, and quality of life services. We actually have a group called Sodexo Magic that does vacation planning and that kind of thing, and does workforce shut-ins and everything else. Another good point about that, it was co-founded by Magic Johnson, a very famous basketball player. So I'm pretty proud of the work that the company does, the growth, and how we've been able to continue sustaining growth and revenue over the years. In analysis of the dominant types of social power in the work setting that I have, it's hard to separate out just one or two, but I was able to look at the audiences and the players and determine which types of social powers work in which arenas. And when we're talking about the client, legitimate power, expert power, and referent power are key because the clients, it's C-level relationships, making the deal, and the CEO of our client wants that CEO of our organization sitting across the table. The CFO, the CIO, they all want to deal with those people that have the legitimate power and the expert power. Legitimate power from an internal perspective to Sodexo, and I'm talking about the employee base and coming down, from the very top. The power relates to the authority that accompanies the position. You got here, now you have it, and now you need to use that power to run the business, so to speak. Coercive power recognizes the ability to command and discipline within the organization. The leaders in the organization have to set the stages, set the parameters, set the objectives, the mission, the vision, or receive the vision from senior leaders like the CEO, CFO, CIO, and then they cascade that down through the organization. Obviously, a part of that coercive power is recognized in disciplining the teams to follow that. Reward power is a tool to encourage employees to meet or exceed the expectations. Remember, with rewards, you can reward greatly, you can reward in many ways, but what is intended there, when we think of rewards, we commonly think of employee appraisals with pay raises, incentives, bonuses, and you get the picture. Promotions, that kind of thing. Leaders have the ability to withhold something that the employee desires, and it could be any of those things, or it could be a limiter. Expert power and referent power internally really relates to, I would say, transformational leaders are a good example of the charisma or the transformational leadership powers that an employee sees. But also expert knowledge and key data and knowledge of the industry in general is also related, along with referent power, to our contractors, vendors, suppliers who play a role in delivering our key services to our clients. So obviously you want to use some expert power to understand what we're buying from our vendors and suppliers, and also understand what the market rate is on that and understand where it's going. To speak a little bit about the alpha dog concept, Casulo argues that C-suite leaders generally possess legitimate, coercive, and rewarding power. The alpha dog, with his or her position power, has the ability to influence organizational behavior. They energize the organization, and they help the organization to realize economic benefits. That's the three primary things the alpha dog concept is related to. However, there are more. The alpha dogs are chosen ones to lead the overall organization, even segments of the organization, depending on the structure, globalization, specialization, that kind of thing. So an alpha dog could be the leader of the North American continent within a global organization, and they inspire the people to participate while the leader continues to communicate to the organization what needs to be accomplished, and more importantly, why it needs to be accomplished. So external forces are demographics, market change, globalization, social and political pressures, competition, technological advances. All of these things force the leader to keep an eye on the need for change, as Aaron in 2008 indicated to us. Now, at the highest level of the organization, the alpha dog is usually the CEO, the chief executive officer, and their goals are to drive the best outcomes for the business. And the alpha dog should be someone who can energize that organization. How they energize it is in a number of ways, and that's through bragging about the successes, letting the organization know where improvements are required, and setting the stages for the mission, vision, values, and what we're going to do within the organization. By virtue of the position, mission, and direction of the organization, the alpha dog must also be a change agent. They've got to be able to look at the organization today and look at what's happening in the industry and look at the technological advances and see the organization where it's going to be 1, 3, 5, 10 years from now. So the alpha dog is that type of leader, and they have the right people in the right places doing the right things at the right times. And just as every good organization has succession planning, you'll also see an alpha leader grooming his or her people to continue to strengthen the business far into the future. That's the overall concept of what an alpha dog leader should be doing. And speaking of alpha dogs, we in the last month and a half received a new CEO globally for Sodexo, and his name is Dennis Machuel. And I wanted to just present one of the, if you will, the modem that Dennis is getting out to the world. And he made a statement that today's world is a winner takes all world. Being average just is not our ambition, is not going to cut it. As an alpha dog leader, Dennis Machuel has, since he took his job a little less than 2 months ago, has been visiting everything from client sites to visiting the customers, visiting the leadership of the continents and the countries around the globe. We're in 80 countries around the globe, so he certainly hasn't had an opportunity to get to all of them. But he's also been doing a lot of technical types of introductions to the organization through web pages, videos, and that kind of thing. So he has generally gotten the organization enthusiastic about where we've been, where we are today, and where he's planning to take us to. So overall, that's the idea of an alpha dog, and an example of Dennis Machuel and what he has done within Sodexo. And also, I'm very pleased to have shared with you some of the groupings and business segments and how Sodexo operates. So with that, I'll share with you the few references that I have used to accomplish putting this presentation together. And I want to thank you very much and wish you a very good evening.